Before you listen to the Tech Talk Daily podcast, I have to ask, are the high levels of uncertainty you're experiencing keeping you from making bold moves? Are you able to clearly see and act on the game-changing opportunities the pandemic has created? I'm Daniel Burris, serial entrepreneur, global technology futurist, and disruptive innovation expert, and right now, you have a choice to make. You can react to problems and disruptions after they happen, or you can learn to accurately anticipate disruptions before they disrupt and identify and pre-solve problems before they happen, giving you the ability to turn disruptive change into your biggest advantage. If you want to take control of your future and make a significant impact now and in the years ahead, join thousands of leaders from around the world by becoming a member of my Anticipatory Leader System, where you'll get the latest insights, processes, tools, and virtual coaching that will give you the certainty and confidence you need to actively shape a better future for you and your organization. Go to techblogwriter.co.uk and click on Daniel Burris.
Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, as you all know by now, I've been saying for several years, the mantra move fast and break things might have sounded incredibly cool in Silicon Valley when techies said it in unison, wearing a power vest. But many created problems because they played with complex technologies like little children, not knowing the hidden dangers and problems that it could cause in the future. But things are changing, and that is just one of the many reasons why I've invited today's guest on from JIFFY.ai. Because earlier this year, JIFFY.ai became the first ever unified enterprise automation innovation company that was structured to have a lasting social impact over the next several decades. And the company is pursuing a responsible path to AI innovation, and their new funding will be used to deliver on that vision, grow the team further, and scale its product roadmap, an existing customer base which is already comprising of Fortune and Global 1000 companies. But I wanted to learn more about the story behind the company, why social impact is so important to them, and their goal to set a new standard for businesses at the intersection of entrepreneurship and innovation. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to California so we can find out more. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Babu. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
All right. Thank you very much for having me, Neil, and inviting me to the show. Okay. Jiffy.ai, we are a hyper-automation, hyper-app platform. Let me explain what I mean by hyper-apps. These are the next generation applications or business processes, that are built to be autonomous. So it'll have very engaging consumer experience, but then when it comes to the enterprise, it'll be all the functions and all the processes, that those will operate in a very autonomous fashion, primarily using AI and machine learning techniques. So it is the computers doing all the middle and back office work, primarily on top of existing technology. So you don't have to throw away all of those technology, but we make those technologies, existing investments, work in an autonomous fashion. So I'm Babu Sivadasan, co-founder and CEO of the company. We have a nice group of entrepreneurs who have come together, and we're on a journey for the next 20 years, trying to build a fabulous company.
And I believe I did a bit of research before you came on. I believe you were launched in 2018 as the go-to market brand. But I think you are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Jiffy.ai is also an AI-first integrated automation and app development platform that's trained with a focus on this highly regulated fintech industry. But can you share a little bit more about the kind of problems that you set out to solve for businesses?
Let's talk about, for example, mortgage processing or loan processing. As a consumer, you go to a financial institution and apply for a mortgage. Why couldn't we get that done in a day? right? Um, Whereas today's those processes take forever. It takes for months, before you get the money wired to your account. And we look at problems like that, processes like that within an organization. So we streamline them. We automate various things. So for example, mortgage processing. Let's take that as an example, right? So as a consumer, you go and apply and you submit all the. You'll be asked to submit a whole bunch of documents, supporting your finances and things like that. And then what happens is somebody on the other end within the enterprise will have to manually look at each and every document and look for consistency. And sometimes those people are on vacation, so it gets held up there. You haven't submitted 2 documents that you were expected to submit. So they'll come back. And then you will be off because you'll be busy with doing your work, right? So this process creates so much friction, right? And in the end, it takes a while, and the consumer has a really bad experience with processes like this. And if you look at it, we try to we streamline that using AI automation. So we have technologies. We have a lot of capability that allows you to understand every document that is coming in. Our machine learning technology, open source app, automatically reads them, understands them, does the necessary verification for consistency between those various documents that are being submitted, and manage that process end to end. Communicate back with the consumer if things are not in good order, or communicate back with the other parts of the organization to gather more data or things like that. So we can enable processes to be autonomous. So that's why we refer to it as a hyper app. So whereas so we make today's apps a lot more autonomous and smart.
Love that. And I also believe you've got a background in finance and operations, including being the former CTO of stamps.com. But one of the things I always try and do on this Daily Tech podcast is also find a little bit more about the story behind a company. So can I ask that you share your story and how your background helped your approach, especially when building a 20-person co-founder team at JIFFY.ai?
Absolutely. So I started my career with Hewlett Packard. I come with a computer science major and got an opportunity to work on HP's Java virtual machine development. They decided for their embedded devices, they wanted to build a Java virtual machine from the ground up. So I was fortunate to be part of that effort. Built a lot of technology that we made. All these tiny devices, printers and scanners and things like that. We have made them really smart. So we put a Java virtual machine in there, and then we put functionality on top of it that allowed those devices to be smart. So that's where I started, and got an opportunity to co-found a company called stamps.com. We worked on the patent on that idea of renting software, or leasing software. Built the prototype for that, and then stamps.com. We went from a struggling company to a public company in about 15 months. So that was good old days, if you will. And we just when the company was about to go public, we a few of the founding team, myself, my mentor, who was CEO at that time, we decided to pursue video distribution using the same technology, video distribution over the internet, which we were way early on that initiative. So we just couldn't pull it off, So in 1999, I decided to go into a completely different field, which was finance. I had no idea. I just felt, because we couldn't pull off the video distribution capability, which I thought and I would really enjoy, because that's one product that you would create and you would come home every day and you would enjoy it. So you would be enjoying your own creation, but unfortunately we couldn't get there, and and the funding environment really dried up by early part of '99. So got an opportunity to work with a friend, and started what is known as InvestNet. InvestNet is a combination of 3 companies who came together, and ours was one of it. So we saw an opportunity in wealth management, where people were still using desktop software that didn't talk to each other. They were spending tremendous amount of time, stitching things together. So a client walks in and they would be off, trying to figure out, putting statements together, and it would be a crazy thing. Like, a client walking into your office is supposed to be a fun thing, right? You want to have meaningful conversations with them as an advisor, but what we were finding is, they would struggle to put material together and things like that. And we thought that was a great opportunity to put cloud-based technology in there. And so we were touting cloud before cloud was became the future, right? So had a fabulous run there. Spent 20 years with the company, played many roles within the company, and built a fabulous organization, and decided to pursue this journey with automation and AI, primarily because the pace at which you're able to innovate. Sometimes the existing technologies lock you down, so you're not able to innovate fast enough. And I thought that was a problem big enough to solve, and it was a problem that I was struggling with back at InvestNet, and so I decided to pursue that as the next opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing that story, because I think it plays such a huge part in your next step in that process, where, of course, now with JIFFY.ai, you're helping Fortune 1000 companies prepare for digital transformation. But is that something that you can expand on, and the kind of problems that you're solving for these Fortune 1000 companies?
Yeah, so we have this unique opportunity with JIFFY.ai to be in multiple verticals at the same time, and our technology is extremely scalable, extremely adaptable. So we have worked with companies that are major airlines, major retailers, manufacturers of automobiles, financial services firms. So we have been able to serve them all in a short period of time. And as an example, right? So sometimes you get into situations where you didn't know your technology could solve certain problems like that. Like, for example, when back in March, when travel restrictions were becoming a problem. I mean, every airline or every organization in the travel and transportation business has been struggling with a wave of cancellations or changes to travel schedules because of COVID. And that's an area within an organization that you don't think of putting a lot of automation, right? Now, you may not be optimal there because you don't do many cancellations compared to the new business activity that you do, right? Now, all of a sudden with COVID, those were the areas that were hit the hardest. So where your cancellation queues or rescheduling queues, were building up 20x from where it used to be, and so your call centers would face tremendous amount of call volumes, because people want to know, hey, my change request to or rescheduling request, now has that gotten processed? And so one of our clients was really struggling with that, and we put an automation, a hyper app together for that, and in about a week and a half, we were able to bring down the volume to normal levels, and the consumers are happy, and the enterprise is happy. So and that leads to a sense of pride with us, to solve those kind of problems, that you didn't anticipate or expect that you were built to solve. But so that gives us a lot of confidence on situations where unexpected things that pop up, and we can even handle those. But in general, we look at processes that tend to have multiple touch points within an organization. Work moves around between people and systems, and when a body of work has to integrate from one system to the next, so those kind of processes, like as I mentioned, mortgage processing, loan processing, employee or customer onboarding, vendor onboarding. We have a hyper app called Invoice, registration hyper app, that literally can handle thousands of invoices, that are coming in every single day, and from a variety of vendors. So each vendor, what that means is each vendor will send information in their own format. So it used to be almost impossible to automate that, because you can't write rules without knowing what you're expecting, right? So whereas with our machine learning technology, we are able to train the system and have the system think like human, right? Where we are able to open up those invoices and automatically process them, and if the machine isn't quite able to get there with a high degree of confidence, we have a human in the loop, that gets escalated to, and the human can train the system by just doing that function, and then the next time around, the platform will automatically do that. So those are the kind of functions that we tend to automate, Neil.
And one of the things one of the big reasons I was excited to get you on the podcast today was when I read that you guys are also the first ever unified enterprise automation innovation company that is actually structured to have a long-lasting social impact over the next several decades. So I'd absolutely love that, and it's so refreshing to hear. But can you tell me a little bit more about the social impact and why it's so important to you?
I've been an angel investor. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. So spend a lot of time with entrepreneurs. Especially in the last 5 years or so, you would get pitches from entrepreneurs about the next AI company. They are driving. And they all have value props. Which is about putting these many people out of work. They put it or these many jobs will be automated, or AI technology will take over. And I've always asked the question, so what happens to those people that you're trying to disrupt? And there'll be a dead silence, I tell you, right? And that's not how AI technology is so profound, that it could do significant disruption and significant change in the way the enterprises work, the way the world works, and it's a great piece of technology, great capability, where it liberates you as humans from doing things that we don't want to do, but at the same time it creates. Nobody has started a course. What do we do, right? When we delegate all these activities that we don't want to do. What's next for us, right? And the lack of clarity on that was bothering me. So when we venture into this, we wanted to be very, very clear about we have a strong belief within our company that we have to be any AI innovator has to be a very, very responsible innovator, and so we wanted to pursue it in a very socially responsible manner. So we wanted to commit a significant portion of our company. So we are an experiment, I would say, in balancing significant innovation and disruption, disruptive innovation, and then trying to be as compassionate on the other side about knowing that our actions have impact, our actions have consequences, and do something about it. So we So we are a mix of a for-profit company, and because of a for-profit company, because what we do requires a lot of capital, and that requires a capitalistic structure for the company. But at the same time, we on the other end, our largest shareholder in the company is a nonprofit, and so the idea is that we're going to build a lot more capital and equity, in the nonprofit, which has a singular focus on trying to reinvest in people who may be affected, who may be disrupted, and help them, retrain them. Many organizations, struggle with a lot of jobs, that they can't fill because they don't have the right talent. So it's an experiment about, hey, can we invest in those people, like, who might potentially get disrupted, and get them ready for the next wave of jobs. That these organizations are already struggling with, trying to fill. So trying to balance the two. How do you balance advancement in technology and the disruption that comes with it, and invest in those people who may see an impact, and walk, be responsible about it, and walk that a journey in a compassionate manner. So very excited about now. If you are building a company, and if you're raising capital from others and things like that, trying to form a structure like that is pretty hard to pull off, because a lot of people wouldn't be for that. But fortunately for us, we've attracted a bunch of investors who believed in it, a bunch of executives, who have built iconic companies before, and they've all believed in it, and very, very thrilled about where we are with respect to trying to pull it off and trying to make this journey. 20 years later, when you look back, be that path that you have taken that you're really proud of. So very excited about it. So it is. I still say it is an experiment, and but very excited about the path. And there's another reason to it. If you look at the next generation, our generation, we believed in a certain different set of ideals, but today's generation, the future, if you talk to them, they want responsible innovation. They want wealth creation that is more, spread out, to people, right? So they. That's what we are resonating to. We want to be built for the next generation.
Love that. And for anyone that's hearing about you guys for the very first time, can you also tell me a little bit more about your goal, which I believe is to set a new standard for business at the intersection of entrepreneurship and innovation? Again, incredibly cool, incredibly forward thinking. But can you share a little bit more details around that?
Yeah. No. So as I mentioned earlier, right? So our journey is all about, we want to work with organizations, where we want to advance and modernize and transform those organizations with their middle and back office processes, but then also work with those people within those organizations, who may see an impact, right? So and craft very unique programs for them, retrain them, take the lead in. So we go into those organizations and work with them to create programs, that working with leading universities that are very specific to the next kind of jobs that they are trying to fill. So that's one way we do it. And now that's not limited to just within the organization. Sometimes you have to go outside the organization and help fill jobs elsewhere, right? So we do that as well. So we look at this as a way where you can transform, modernize, but at the same time, take accountability. We can't solve the problem fully, but at least we can take accountability for a meaningful part of that challenge, with disruption, and do something about it. Most organizations, want to do things in a very, very responsible manner. So we are providing a framework, and we are providing a commitment as a vendor to work with them and try to navigate this journey in a very responsible manner.
And I'm not sure if you've seen this, Babu, but according to Deloitte, nearly every company in the world is going to be using robotic process automation in some form within the next 5 years as attempts to automate those manual tasks in verticals like operations, HR, and accounting have, for the most part, fallen short. And Gartner also estimates that by 2024, low-code application development will be responsible for more than 65% of application development activity. So the reason I bring this up is I'd love to know more about how do you think at Jiffy you can turn challenges like that into opportunities?
For the first time, we have all dreamed as a computer science major. When I graduated, my dream was to be in a world where you don't have to write code.
Yeah.
You don't have to. As a computer science graduate, that's the last thing you should be thinking about. But for some reason, I've always believed in the possibility of computers, and humans, coexisting in a way where that barrier between them, will go away. The barrier between them is what causes us to write large amounts of programs and things like that, because we can't naturally communicate with the machines and delegate functions and things like that. For the first time, we believe that is possible now with advancements in AI and machine learning. You can really break that barrier between human and machine, and with that comes possibilities to really enable much faster innovation. Right. So you think about an idea. You can simply communicate with the machines, and machines will do all that work for you, which used to take months and months of development, and handing it over to many layers of people, right? And before you finally see something come back, and then you realize, no, that's not what you wanted, right? And so that whole process of software development is getting restructured, if you will, right? Where a lot of that would be much faster, and a significant portion of the enterprise stack and enterprise development and innovation that happens within those enterprises will be happening at a much faster pace using technologies like JIFFY.ai, where we have the capability to take in those instructions and immediately deliver gratification, using techniques like AI and machine learning, where we literally write the code and compile and deploy all in real time. So, and that will be the way of the future, where you wouldn't be sitting there and kind of taking months before you want to see your dream or dreams come to reality. You want instant realization of what your dreams are, and technology and capability like JIFFY.ai enables organizations to do that. Create new pieces of functionality, transform existing functionality, transform the legacy that you've been inheriting for a long time. Be able to make meaningful change and improvements in almost real time manner, which is possible now. So that's and organizations are already investing in that and continue to accelerate that level of investment in advancing capability like that. Organizations, it's a great thing, to transform organizations, because every 20 years you have to look at capability that enables your the systems to be resilient and nimble for the next 20 years, right? So that next wave of what we refer to as hyper apps, where autonomous applications, that run your processes within the enterprise, and extremely resilient, and you don't have to take on a lot of risk by sending sensitive documents to all parts of the world. Technology can handle that. and so bridging that barrier between human and machine, in a real meaningful way is what the next few years is all about.
Excellent. And apologies for asking this, because it is a big, big question. And I think it's something that a lot of people are debating and grappling with at the moment. But what would you say the secret is to embracing automation in the workplace, but without losing employees who are the heart and soul of any company?
Well, absolutely. It is all about recognizing, that first of all, we have to embrace change, as organizations, because that is improvements in technology, improvements in the way you do things, improvements in way of delivering better experiences to your clients. Anytime you lose sight of that fact, that's what gives opportunities. You become legacy, and somebody else comes into your space and grabs that opportunity. So as bigger organizations, larger enterprises, and if you embrace change and see these transformations that are occurring and embracing them, wholeheartedly, right? That allows you to defend your business. And then you look at that, and there is a people dimension to it. So there, when you embrace such disruptions and things like that, there are certain functions, where people dependency gets reduced, right? So you have to look at that and try and see where else, because if you look at an organization, any growing organization, you will always find that there are areas where some parts of the organization would be crying for help, because they can't move fast enough, and they don't have enough people to, especially when you talk about people within the company, they know the culture. These are people, when you try to bring in new people, right? It takes a while before they understand the culture of the organization, before they understand how they make meaningful impact within the organization and things like that. Whereas already have people who have been with you for a long time, who understand the environment and what you stand for. And, so being able to redeploy them, being able to work with them, being able to commit to working with them, and, our ability to partner with such organizations, we think, that's a great way of addressing the disruptions and things like that is caused by technology.
Love that. And before I let you go, everything has changed this year, and I think our goals have possibly changed, our wants and needs, and everything is evolving as we adapt to a new digital landscape. So I've got to ask, how do you define success at Jiffy right now?
That's a great question. So when we started the year, we put a plan together. So, hey, this is what we're going to do for the year, and then 45 days into the process, all of a sudden you are hit with an event and hit with this pandemic, so that disrupts your everything that you thought about, because as a small company, as a early stage startup, your ability to get in front of clients and being able to convince them on the merits of your capabilities and things like that is extremely paramount, right? So to be in front of clients or prospects and being able to tell that story. Now, that's not going to be possible, right? Enterprise business is all about building deep personal relationships and being able to show them a path, do that storytelling, right? That allows shows them what is possible, right? And with the pandemic and you're not able to travel, obviously you got to regroup, and which we did, and few months into it, our phones have been ringing nonstop. We've been working harder than ever, right? We've seen a tremendous amount of uptake for our capabilities, and we've seen a lot of interest. So what has happened is, this fundamental assumption that your organization, will have people who are working from the office in those cubicles, and that's how things get done. That fundamental assumption organizations are built around how they operate, that has turned out to be not true anymore, right? And as a result, organizations are forced to rethink and look at different ways of performing various functions, bring more automation into the processes and things like that. So we have seen a significant uptake for our capabilities and technologies, so that we provide. So which has been great. The last 4 or 5 months, we've been busier than ever. Right, that continues. So that's great. To be in that situation when you are secluded and being stuck at home, and you can't see your own people, and we all try using techniques like video calls and things like that. That allows you to stay engaged with your clients, your friends, your partners, your employees, your colleagues, but still it doesn't replace the physical in-person meetings or things like that. So I can't, as a personally, I'm a big person believes in person-to-person communication and looking at people sitting across the table and having that honest dialogue about what they're trying to achieve and how we could be playing a meaningful role for them, right? So I can't go back to. I really have to go back to that mode. But we have adapted to this world. We have been doing extremely well, and a lot of organizations have embraced us, and so we are pretty happy about the progress that we are making with our organization.
And finally, for anyone that would like to find out more information about anything that we've talked about today, after listening to our conversation, what's the best way of finding you online and also contacting your team if they do have any questions?
Yeah, Babu at Jiffy.ai, is my email ID, and I'm on LinkedIn and Babu Sivadasan, Jiffy.ai, and love to engage with any of your listeners, and if there are questions on how we do things, how this next wave of digital transformation within the enterprises, how do you make it a reality? We have the experience of working with a number of firms in this area, and so sharing the learnings and how best to approach this and things like that. I'm all game for.
Well, there's so much I love about what you're doing here, because I think there is so much talk and hype around artificial intelligence, automation and machine learning. But what I love about what you're doing here is you're making enterprises vastly more efficient and enabling them to use cases that have not been possible until now, and solving real problems and appreciating and looking bigger, thinking bigger at the art of the possible. But also by doing all that, you've equally moved away from the move fast and break things mantra in Silicon Valley and focusing on social impact too. It's such a fine balance, but you guys seem to have got it perfectly. So thank you so much for coming on here and sharing that story with me today.
Thank you so much, Neil. Thank you for having me, and really great talking to you, and look forward to seeing you in person one of these days, okay?
I love how their goal at Jiffy.ai is to set a new standard for businesses at the intersection of entrepreneurship and innovation, and how across their entire team they've dedicated themselves to tackling the effects of automation on the workforce, and not just accelerating the path to profit for business. And through their foundation arm, they're investing in programs that will help retrain, upskill workers of anyone whose jobs might get displaced. And these are the kind of stories I want to hear more about. There are plenty of stories on your newsfeed of negative stories about technology and robots from Terminator and Skynet with red eyes coming to take all our jobs. But there are people out there making a difference, concerned about social impact, and also using technology to not just bring people together, but also think bigger and see the art of the possible waiting on the horizon. If that sounds like you, you're the kind of person I want to get on this podcast. So I want to hear your stories too. So email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk, where you'll find over 1,400 other interviews, links to my social channels and how you can work with me and so much more. But it's quitting time for me. We've reached the end of the road, but I'll return again tomorrow with another guest. So thank you so much for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.